group.
And we got to post it elsewhere.
Oh, well, it has the one from yesterday that you did. So that, I mean, that's really good.
Yeah, it should work. That sounds good.
It allowed people to, to post or click that they're interested or whatever and that kind of thing. So
we are live.
Yes.
Hey,
we'll give the audience a chance to appear. We'll see what happens here for a second.
Take their last sip of coffee.
Take your last sip of coffee. Grab a drink of water. I think Troy is going to entertain us pretty well today, from what I hear. What do we got?
Chiropractors are manipulative. Just so
that's not surprising.
I hope so.
If not, we're definitely in trouble.
Yeah, you guys using StreamYard. I have BeLive, and I don't know, from what I've seen, even just when I popped in yesterday, man, StreamYard is actually pretty cool. I like the way that it's done.
Cool.
BeLive is bad, but
no, I like them both, but for different reasons. So.
Yeah, we can do a lot of the same, pretty much the same stuff. I actually even like the screen sharing here a little bit better.
Speaking of sharing, I got to share too.
Yeah. But the other thing that they have is this cool banner that runs, which is just like the one on BeLive.
Mm-hmm.
So you can find me at, which is kind of cool. So BeLive has that. They're pretty similar actually in nature. They have a lot of the same stuff.
And what I'm more specifically meaning is that, like when I stream, and so like right now before I got on, I shut down pretty much everything because I got a lot of stuff that can run in the background, backing up stuff. Even if not backing up anything, that backup is always pinging, and checking and stuff. So I shut all that down, and it seems to just be going smoother than with BeLive. It's pretty cool. BeLive does run fairly smooth, but it'll show you in the upper left like kind of your bars. Mm-hmm. So I dip into the yellow, and I'm like, I've got everything shut down, and I've got a Mac with 24 gig of memory.
Right.
I mean, it's like not, and it's a new Mac. So I mean, like, just that's what I just kind of just wonder. So it's more like their algorithm for connectivity to the, to their platform and stuff. It just makes me kind of like this. Heck, I think when I got on with you yesterday, I forgot to turn anything off.
Yeah.
And we were just running fine. I was like, man, I like that.
And today we're streaming 5 places at once.
Whoa.
Woo.
I'm feeling it.
I'm tingly all over.
We're on Facebook, 2 places. We're on YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch.
Wow, Twitch.
As I said,
son of a Twitch.
I figured, just for fun, I'm gonna broadcast on Twitch. Let's just see what it looks like.
I've heard about those Twitch people. So
yeah, so we're in 5 places. Mitch from Twitch.
So Mitch Onger, he does a lot of the leads, generating leads through contests.
Yes.
Well, he does also go out to Twitch, and it's funny because I was watching one of his more recently, and Twitch is his most interesting audience, and they tend to come in with questions. And I think just did a throw out there, and hey, if I get some more traffic, I get some more traffic. And he's gotten what he says, adult-oriented questions.
I see.
Is what he gets from the Twitch people, and his stream is nothing about that. Yeah. So let's just put it away. It's an interesting group according to him. I haven't done Twitch, so
I just did it for fun. My daughter is a big gamer, so she's Twitch all the time. So I just figured.
Well, that's what it typically is. I mean, Twitch is a big game streaming channel. You know what I mean? Or, excuse me, avenue.
But I guess it's changed a lot. Like I know that the guys from Live Streaming Pros stream on Twitch, and some marketers are beginning to stream over there. So I figured, hey, we'll give it a try. We'll see what kind of crowd we get.
Right. No, I agree. I do think that's it's an avenue or another channel that people are adding on as far as it being a good streaming platform, because it's solid, and that's part of the thing that you want it to be is solid, and a lot of people are there. So
it's like the TikTok phenomenon. I'm starting to see marketers and entrepreneurs going on to TikTok. In fact, the TikTok people are trying to make their audience older instead of a bunch of little teens and tweens.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We actually talked we talked some special stuff about that. You'll have to catch that, like later. We'll have to talk about that later because we weren't streaming then. But
no, but we can talk about that at the end. Yeah. We'll fill you in.
Maybe
you should have been here earlier.
Yeah.
Any information you have for me is going to be far better than what I got by the SBA and the loan originators.
Yeah, probably. We won't even get into that today. No, it's very unprecedented times for sure for the stuff that we've been going through. So I guess we'll get started. People just join us when they join us. We'll give them. I think we've given them a little bit of time here in 5 minutes, and
this broadcast will last a lifetime.
Yes. Indeed, it will.
Well, the reality is, like, you get what you get live, and then a lot of people do replays because, like, even for me, like, there's a lot of replays that, and honestly, the time that we're starting at as well is, I think, a really good, nice time to start.
I think so
and
too.
a lot of people start, at this time as well. For me, it's 1 p.m. Mountain, but I know, we got 3 o'clock Eastern, and then noon for some people in California. And we aren't even up yet.
I know.
Hawaiian time. You could have breakfast in Hawaii.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. What time is it in Hawaii? Does anybody know, like, what the time difference is?
8 hours difference from me, so 5 hours.
No. Hawaii is 5 hours from the East Coast. So for Hawaii,
8 hours from the East Coast.
No, how do you get that? There's no way. That would be
everybody rushed to their
3 hour
I always thought it was 8. I used to work as in Hawaii.
Yeah, but when I lived in DC and would fly to Hawaii, it was a 5 hour time difference. So I don't know, they added some hours somewhere, unless they don't do daylight savings time. That's a possibility.
I don't know. I thought it was 5 from the West Coast and 8 from here, but I could be wrong.
What time is it? Hey, all of you people in Hawaii who are watching us, what time is it?
Tell us now.
And if you're not live now, we'll read it on the replay.
Right, exactly.
I had a friend from Hawaii, and she just moved to Colorado, so no good. No.
It's 9:09. It's 9:09 a.m. I rest my case.
Good morning, Hawaii.
Good morning, Hawaii.
Welcome to brunch.
We'll send a shout out to Jason Moffitt. He'll catch the replay.
Exactly. He might.
He's out there. No, there's no Mike, John. Okay,
he now, I think, is the only person I know in Hawaii, Jason Moffitt.
What's funny is, like, he is the only one, but now that I'm saying that, actually, I think there's one other marketer out there that I know, but it's not coming to me. And so, and then, like, later on, I'll be like, oh yeah. And then all these other people are going to ping me.
Yeah, like, I remember 80 people. Hey, I'm from Hawaii. What the heck? Yeah. You forgot me.
Why don't you give me a shout out?
I know. So anyways, we might as well get on with the show. So today is pretty exciting for us. We got Troy McDonald. He's going to talk to us about pre-mail marketing, which is, I'm
going to talk to you about actually email.
Email is good because I'm dealing with a female in her email. So pre-mail was something that I thought of talking about, and I will talk a little bit about that. But I really have been thinking, what is it that people really need? And I think it's more of a mind shift. And so I want to talk about something that I've been doing for some years that I didn't do originally, meaning, like, I'm going to give a bit about my backstory, where I come from, who I am, et cetera, et cetera, and where I started from. So I started online in 94. And yeah. You've got mail.
Yeah, there was that.
But even before then with bulletin boards. Mm-hmm. So that's for the real old school people. And I remember in DC, I'm trying to think, DC or was it Rhode Island? Because, like I say, my dad was stationed in DC, Rhode Island. And I distinctly remember it in Rhode Island. And so that was in the 80s, late 80s, or mid 80s. Sorry. So I had an acoustic baud modem. If you guys remember those. Yeah. Thing that would, like, listen to the phone and the sound.
Yeah.
So I was into computers even before we had any kind of connectivity to, in essence, other people. I mean, I used to go to user groups where, and I was an Atari boy. So I used to program on an Atari, and I was a nerd back then. And nerds weren't cool back then. Now it's like, man, you want to be a nerd. That's where it's at.
Right.
So, but and the backstory to that is, in order for us to get the computer, my dad said, okay, like, you and your brother raise half the money, and I'll pay for the other half. Now, this was expensive back then,
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so we went and did Krispy Kreme donut sales. We went and sold them door to door, and made half the money, and my dad paid the other half, and the races were off. I used to go to the libraries to get books on how to program, or you'd read them and you'd type them in, and I didn't have any storage back then. So it was type, and then they had magazines, and I typed those in, and I'd play them for a while or mess with them for a while, and then shut your computer off. Then came a tape recorder, or where they used to be able to save your programs out to audio tape. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that's going way, way back. That's like my real initial computer, beginnings and everything. So the funny thing is too, when I get to speaking, I'm a speaker and a talker, but it's funny, like I start using words that I don't normally use, or I say them in ways I wouldn't normally say. So I don't know what that's all about, because when I'm normally talking, I'm just flowing. I guess it's I'm trying to keep it in a certain format, because I don't be like, yo, so this guy was like tripping out, and da. So I guess I should be me, but sometimes I say
be you.
Got all tech Lexi on us.
Me be me. All right. So, but then I started. I was really into business. I always thought, where is the money at in life, in a sense? And to me, it was just business ownership. Then, long story short, that adjusted to marketing, where I thought, well, it's like a business is fine all, but what to me is like the engine of business, and it was marketing. That's what I came up with. And so I started getting into direct mail or direct response and classified advertising and just that kind of thing. And so then the internet came along. So I'm just kind of, skipping stuff. I mean, because I again, like I'm a talker, we could have like a 6-hour live, but so then the internet came along, and to me, I just thought, man, this is just the electronic version. And, and I'm like, nerd computer guy and marketing. I mean, that's how I saw it. Mm-hmm. And I actually started my very first site way back in the day, and it was called Pirate Pete's Free Stuff.
Are you Pirate Pete?
Well, the reason I because I had like this little flip art logo that I liked. It was like on a disc that I had bought, and and it was actually hosted on my my free hosting that came with my internet service provider. And I just saw this free stuff online, and I was like, oh man, this is like cool. Like you can get free stuff. And it was like, fill out a form and you get like a free, bounce dryer fabric sheets or something like that. Like, I just started doing a site with all this free stuff. So it wasn't even like a real domain back then, back when it was like, I don't know, like what it was like $25 or something to register a domain. But I didn't even looked into that. I didn't know that stuff. I just was like, because the website was like inconnect.com /Marketech, which was my username. And then that was I just had my site there. That was my really first thing into that, in an HTML editor. And I did some HTML by hand, but also had like one of the first editors on a Mac, actually. Mm-hmm. And where do I stand on Mac and PC real quick? Hey, their computers, they get you, if they could do it, you need
whatever gets you through the night.
Yeah, I've used both, and in fact, on my Mac, I run both for whatever I need to do. So anyway, not that I don't really hear people arguing about that too much nowadays, but I guess just people
parallels.
Yeah, exactly, parallels. And then after that, I did start my first business online, which was again back kind of that clip art stuff. I found a guy that did his own custom artwork, or was just doing artwork, and so I started a website, and it was tuneworld.com, which now is defunct. I didn't keep like every domain and all that kind of stuff, but what it was is we just did kind of custom artwork for people, and the way I kind of thought was like, hey, do you need a logo, for your website? And he did like this kind of interesting kind of cartoon vibe that he did.
Oh, so I thought it was a music site. It was TUNE, Tune World. That's the first thing that came to mind.
TUN World.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh.
And anyway, so I mean, our initial payment method was people sent me checks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, so I used to get checks, and then I'd cash them, and I'd send him, you know, his part of the money, because it was like, you know, once we get an order and then he delivers it, then I paid him. And you know, I mean, I wouldn't say I became a millionaire on that, but I mean, I got sales on it.
That's great.
Then we switched over to where he made some packs that people could buy, and we went with iBill.com. Now, iBill actually became famous for doing, or their big audience that they worked with was adult sites.
Oh boy, here we go back to the adults again.
Yeah, well, there we go. But they were like one of the only like payment processors that were out there, you know, that would like run stuff for you, and you know, they were easy to work with. You know, they paid on time, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, anyway, so you know, that's my very first foray into that, and then from there on, I you know, I run a magazine subscription site where people can buy magazine subscriptions, and I, you know, so I run various different businesses, and that was me just kind of trying to figure out the internet and what I wanted to do and that kind of thing. But again, that was really me running a business, not really focusing so much on marketing, meaning like back then, you know, marketing was still trying to be figured out online. And so one of the people that I ran into, his name's Kurt Christensen.
Oh yeah.
Kurt Christensen's been around for a long time. How we met initially was, so in the apartment that I was living in, where I had started Tune World, and also where I ran magazinesubscribers.com, and I think that's been snatched up by some other site, and they just redirected to their magazine site as well. But so he was working for a company as, I think, the VP of marketing, and he was running a magazine subscription site. So anyways, so I got that idea from him. But anyway, so originally both he and I were on a discussion list, which was, I don't remember if you remember these guys, but we ran them by email, where you'd send in something by email and then it'd be shot out to everybody, that kind of thing like that. Dr. C's like,
I'm like, what?
I remember. Yeah.
At that time I was still doing direct mail. So
okay. So, well, speaking of direct mail, so I was on there. I was on that group, and I thought, well, hey, I wonder if anybody from Utah is in this group. And I thought, well, because at that time I lived in Provo, which is where Brigham Young University is, just to kind of give some reference. And then Salt Lake is about 45 minutes north of there, where the Olympics were in 2002.
Right.
So I was like, hey, I typed in there, hey, is anybody from Utah in there? And I thought, again, if anybody was on there, they'd be like in Salt Lake, you know, some bigger place or whatever. And well, it turns out Kurt happened to live in Provo as well. And you could go out of I'm like trying to do my hands gestures. I'm like, but I can't see it on the screen. Anyway, so you can open up the door and look out across, and then across the road was where his office was.
That's great.
So we met up for lunch one time, and and just started talking about things, because and the actual
now you can do your hand gestures.
Yes. Oh, not
so
and we, you know,
Poke.
There you go.
There you go. Perfect.
And so we got together for lunch one time, and if I remember correctly, I think the discussion list wasn't about just marketing; it was a Jay Abraham list.
Oh wow!
Yeah, really well.
And so we got together and we just hit it off. We were talking about everything, because he was also doing. He wasn't. I don't think he was doing the magazine stuff. He wasn't doing the magazine stuff at that time, but he was also doing direct response. And so, in fact, he started mailing for Brian Keith Voiles, who I have a group with him, which is Mastering Copy. So on Facebook, we have a group called Mastering Copy, and Brian's one of the big copywriters in there. Anyway, so that's how I got to meet Brian. Anyway, but Kurt at one point started direct mailing on Brian's copywriting course. So I helped him out with that. So, I mean, we just started to hit it off. So we started just everything and anything that we did, we like pass by each other. What do you think of this? And read my copy on this. And, what do you think about this idea? And just all that kind of stuff. So he's been a really good friend, to this day, and we still keep in touch.
Awesome.
Cool. And right now what he's doing is for some years, he runs a financial webinar with the financial system that he has, and he does really well with that. Mm-hmm. So then as far as marketing for me at that point, I kind of just kept growing as far as understanding online. I got connected with Frank Kern, Ed Dale, Jason Moffitt, the original underachievers group and the ultra underachievers and that kind of thing. So I'm like, let me see where I'm going here in the sense that I want to like speed up, because I know it probably could take forever on all this. Basically, I started to work with those guys, get to know them and other marketers. Like, I can drop some other names, and I probably will at some point, but I've actually literally worked with them on projects. So, and I'll get back to that a little bit later, because those people actually help lead into the main topic that I want to talk about. But I'm gonna hit pre-mail now. What I mean by that. So pre-mail is, and I have some notes off to the side here. Just again, it's sort of to help me keep me on some sort of track. But so
not like Amtrak.
No. Right. So pre-mail to me is, well, actually, let me start with just email. So email is what would you call it? I know it's not really a trick question, but it's just, I want to see if you guys might think of it or describe it as I do. And if you're on with the live or even the replay, feel free to participate and play along at home.
That's right.
Play along at home. Yeah. With the home version of this game.
Type it in the comments. Wherever you are.
I see email just as a way of electronically communicating with people quicker than snail mail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a way of gathering information and being in regular contact with them in a way that's far superior to anything you could do with even personalized letters and direct mail.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, it really is a form of electronic direct mail, and it's very conversational. So it's meant to be.
It can be conversational.
It can be conversational. Most people
can be very salesy, like buy now.
Yeah. Or just talking directly to them. This is what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I look at it as a distribution channel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that too.
And I'll get a little more into detail later. That's the big thing I'm going to talk about, actually, distribution channels. But so pre-mail is everything that you do prior to having a subscriber or even emailing them.
Right.
So
like for example, this could be pre-mail.
Exactly. And it literally is.
Yeah.
It sounds like branding, where every little thing that leads up to, from the first phone call to the first contact to the color of your sign, could be your brand.
I'll agree with that. I'll just call it differently. I'll call it preconditioning.
I like that, actually. Yeah. It's the psychologist in me loves that.
Yeah. Well, and I don't mean to I'm not throwing it out to sound all big and whatever, but the reality is that everything. So let's put things into kind of three segments. There's the pre-mail,
mm-hmm.
there's the mail, and then there's the after mail. I don't really have any kind of name for that, but that's just your continuing connection and growth and relationship building with them after that. But what I don't see a lot of focus in on is the thought of the preconditioning or the conditioning of what's the word? See, and this is like I say, where I get on and everything that I know, half the time the words I usually normally use are out of my mind, and I'm all using all these other phrases that I don't.
That's okay. We're a friendly bunch here, so
yeah.
Don't worry.
But it doesn't matter. Anytime I do a video, in fact, what's funny, really quick, one of the things that I did when I went to the corporate side of internet marketing, I was the VP for a company called Hobbytron.com,
mm-hmm.
and they're still going today, still using a lot of things that I put into place. But the funny thing is we did have in our warehouse, we did have a burglary at one point, and I was on the news, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, I'm using the word bingo bango, which I never use.
Bingo bango burglaro.
When there's a camera in front of me, my vocabulary comes from another pool of stuff. So that's what I'm saying. I have no idea.
It's cool.
So, and my wife still laughs about that every now and then. Oh, bingo, bango. You know, I'm like, thank you.
Bingo, bango.
I like to invent words.
Bingo, bango, bandits.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's another discussion about them. We were in the Inc. 500, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway.
Yeah.
So pre-mail.
Yes. So pre-mail, or the preconditioning is everything. And this would be an example of it. What it does is it helps to get people to understand who you are, what you have to offer, what your mindset is, what your process is, what your thought process is, and to see and to create a connection with them.
Mm-hmm. Because
if you think about it, anything and everything we do, that happens as well, normally and naturally. Right. So before you go, for example, the family wanted to go out to eat the other day. So the kids wanted McDonald's, the wife wanted Arby's. So before that, well, what had to happen? Well, we had to kind of get hungry over a period of time, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, so there's things that lead up to you deciding, hey, I'm going to eat something.
Well, plus your last name that disposes them to go to McDonald's.
Yeah, and then you had to play in your hit both.
It could be McArby's.
And did I mention that I actually own some shares in McDonald's? I mean, I have family connections, so I'm actually really quite wealthy and don't need any of this crap. Just kidding.
Don't need any of this.
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
No.
Say hi to Ronald for us.
Well, I will say hi to my dad. I will later on.
Okay, there you go. Ronald McDonald is my dad.
Because the literal funny thing is, my dad's name is Ronald McDonald.
Oh my God.
That's great.
The quick side story to that is, I think my dad was born a few years even before I think the character existed. So, anyways, well, that's another side story. I've got a million stories.
I bet you do. From tangent back to preconditioning.
So, well, I'd rather make this like fun too, but I know there's some people that are like, just give me the meat.
It is fun. I like
where's the beef?
Yeah, that's at Arby's or Wendy's. Where's the beef?
Wendy's, yeah. So Wendy never came in. There's not a Wendy McDonald, is there?
No.
Oh, thank God.
At least not my chain or not my genealogy. Okay, so that's what it is, and what people need to understand is that, or the way I see it, a lot of times, and I've even fallen into this, and this is what I did originally in the beginning. You just, hey, here's some reason, like you'd almost have like a lead magnet, and that is some preconditioning, but I also think that there can be more done ahead of time, especially nowadays.
Oh yeah,
there's more media. I mean, you can have videos about yourself. You can run ads to get to see things about you or your product or service and that kind of thing. And I think that people need to do more. So as Frank Kern calls it, indoctrination.
Yeah.
But that almost to me sounds, I think, has a little bit more negative connotation. I don't think it really should.
No.
It really is to me the context that it's put in when you use that word.
There's religious indoctrination, and it's not necessarily evil. So,
well, some people would say it is, but I agree. I agree with you. I don't think it is, but some people would say it is. But again, that's again like anything else. You can tell somebody like a Big Mac, and somebody will say that's evil. But that's
you mean it's not.
That's another tangent. So I had just a quick example was where I said, so you're a high-end jeweler, right?
Yeah.
Well, you attract people to your store, and so let me just read here how I wrote it, because this isn't an example I use, but I thought, let me just pick up something that I don't normally do. But I said, so you don't just end up at a high-end jeweler's store,
right?
Okay, so you track them, and when they get there is when you have them. So that's like, you have their email address and everything, and meaning in the electronic world. But then you can go ahead and sell them, right? Mm-hmm. Or you can talk to them about selling or whatever. And you can actually do some more preconditioning. But if you bring the people there that say make $300 a week, or about, say $1,200 a month, then you're going to have a hard time making sales as being a high-end jeweler. So not only is preconditioning, to me, is really, it's part of selecting and finding the people that really resonate with your message. And that resonation also means specifically with the kind of money that you want to charge.
Mm-hmm.
And what I see a lot of times, I am seeing a lot of separation now though. But what I've seen over the years, again, having been in this industry for a long time, is just this: build your list.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like anybody and everybody you can get on that.
Right.
And then you would sell to who you can.
Yeah.
Now you can't control if people come in your list and they're not as qualified as you'd like them to be.
Right.
I mean, just, because to them somehow there's some sort of connection and they resonate with your pre stuff, we'll call it now, because you've got video, audio, podcast, everything. There's just so many ways you can reach people, and direct mail still can work and does work.
Well, it's almost like some people on your email list, they may be aspirational to eventually become buyers. They're just attracted to whatever you present.
That's exactly it. And they'll resonate with you because they maybe hear some of your journey and where you've been, and they'll connect with that. And then they're like, oh, well, I want to become like parts of what you've done. It may not be like your whole, kit and caboodle and the whole shebang kind of thing. So the pre-mail to me, or the preconditioning, or the indoctrination, or the filtering of the leads that you get, to me, is something that I don't think as many people focus on. Again, like I'm seeing more people talk about it, and it being more important.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just what that was my brief thing I want to talk about. That would be like something that people say, well, what is pre-mail? And although some people will probably hear this or have heard this now, since they're at this point, and will be like, oh, okay, well, whatever. But I do think it's extremely important, and I know that can mean a smaller list.
Well, but a smaller list of raving fans is what we're all after.
Yeah,
exactly, and that's where I'm coming from, because the reality is, what it costs to mail your list, as that continues to increase. And I mean, some people can say, well, it's only a dime or two here or there more. And at one point, I understand and I agree with that, but I also believe more in the raving fans type of thing, whatever.
Too.
Because what's funny too is if you'll even look at people like, oh, it's not a big deal. But then I'm like, yeah, now let's look at your autoresponder and see how many segmented and and whatever, either you're segmented by a separate list or by tags or both or whatever. And I'm like, that means that you have a group, you know what I mean? So anyway, but so to those who are just grabbing anybody and everybody they can, I would say to work on focusing and segmenting those people, because that really is where, I mean,
the gold is there for sure.
The gold is there, but I mean, it kind of gets me off into another tangent of all of a sudden I'm like, you see, I'm touching my face, like everything. Oh no. Yeah, I'll do this.
Back to Vogue.
Yeah. I'll do this. I just know as I'm looking at myself in the video there, and I'm like,
stop looking at yourself. You're not that interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally kidding.
I tell myself that all the time. I'm like,
there you go.
And I'll scratch nothing, and I'll come back, and anyway. But so I just want people to just focus more in, or to think about it. It actually is. It's more important, and over the long term, it makes much more sense to really make an effort in the content that you put out to attract your ideal customer.
Mm-hmm.
And that is it's becoming a phrase you hear all the time. But again, I'm talking from experience over the years, that it really just pays much more to focus your content. I mean, you can have some wide stuff, and I think it's okay to have some of that. But as you get into more of the type of customer you have, to have more content on the type of customer that talks to that customer, then I think that it's fine to have some feelers that go out a little bit more, and then even less feelers that go out even farther for a wider thing, because people do change and they go through phases and they grow and become different people. So I think it's fine to have stuff that goes out to the broad market, then a little bit closer to your ideal customer, but then your focus is in your conditioning, your pre-mail, your pre-information, your education type stuff. And I actually really think you should be more of a thought leader than just teaching literally step 1, step 2. That's why I didn't want to talk necessarily about email deliverability, because that's more of a, well, make sure you got this, make sure you got that. And that there's some stuff coming. I'll just say there's some stuff coming down the road that I ain't too excited about. But anyway, that's
I think what you were saying makes a lot of sense to me, which is basically focus, go deep before you go wide.
Right. And another thing with me, I don't know if you noticed, but in our 30-day live challenge, I have a thing on strategic attraction planning. So this is a part of what I teach too, is to have a strategic plan to attract your ideal prospective client, lead, customer, whatever it might be that you're trying to attract. So
I know when it came to numbers, when you're talking about numbers and big email lists, we made along with my wife a very strategic move, which was to cut her email list way down to about, I would say, almost 27% of what it used to be, just from people who weren't opening anything in a year or 6 months or that type of thing, because it was just a lot of dead weight and we were paying extra money for something we weren't using, or they weren't just engaging at all.
Actually, that's an extremely good point. Because not only, the cost and whatever, because some people can go, oh, that's just small, but deliverability.
Yeah. Oh, we weren't going to talk about the D word, I thought.
Well, I put that up. That's a quick one.
Yeah.
Get people off your list that are not opening your emails.
Yeah.
Oh no, I take off your list. I mean, if you want to put them off into a side and trying to reactivate them, but if you have a main list that you're really wanting the response to, then move those other people into it. Yeah.
And I'm thinking, if they haven't opened an email in 2 years, I don't believe that they're really interested.
Well, I don't know. That might be kind of getting a little drastic, but
I don't think so. At least once a year, open somebody's email.
I'm joking. 2 years is absolutely.
Jeez, 2 years. I mean, why were you on in the first place? I guess it was for the free giveaway. Yeah, is what it was. So yeah, the freebie.
It's so easy to keep following up with people in other ways. I mean, it's easy for us to retarget people now. We couldn't do that before. That wasn't something we had available. So it's easy to kind of narrow down and make our list very concise. And yet we've got a kind of other list over here, as people would say, where you can still continue to keep in touch and, send them stuff from time to time, but not, tie up your email list with poor deliverability. So that makes perfect sense.
So Troy, when you talk about pre-mail also, I mean, are you talking about also like the consistency, like, so let's say that your website or your landing page has a certain look and feel to it with your logo, that you translate that also into your actual emails, or do you just go for plain text versus HTML?
Oh, so you're saying, should your email look?
So should there be a feeling that, okay, your logo is here, you see the nice, good looking face there, and that you also see it in an email as a header?
Well, you're really going to like this answer. It's both.
It depends. It depends.
It really does. I mean, the reality is that, things change, if you do a heavily done, HTML email, it gets less deliverability. And then somebody can argue the point, well, no, I get this deliverability. So who's your ESP, your autoresponder, who's your email service provider? There's so many things. And so it's like, that's really just a hard thing to literally say. Personally, I don't do heavy HTML emails. And as far as length of emails, should they be long form? Should they short form? I think, again, it's both. It really depends on who you're mailing.
Right.
So if you're mailing to maybe do a reactivation, in some cases I might do a short one just to get them to click a link to this person's actually alive, or it's not going into La La Land or whatever. Yeah. But I mean, those things are just so subjective that it's funny when people talk about it, but I guess, they come from their viewpoint of like, okay, here's what's working literally for me.
Yeah.
But
therefore it's going to work for you.
Right. And a lot of times there's someone will give that caveat that, hey, this is what's working for me and it may not work for you. Some people just go, don't do HTML emails at all.
Yeah.
Or
I can just give you the example. So for my wife's newsletter for Mexican cooking, so Mama Mega's Kitchen, we have her face on the header along with her logo, and people have that expectation because it matches the food blog. And it's a very short, because it's like maybe one or two recipes. So it's a very short email newsletter with a very specific purpose, which is to get them to click and drive traffic to the blog.
Yeah, absolutely. And that would be fine, fine for me. And I think, having things that match up, and the way I think of matchup as well, since I don't really do like a whole ton of images. I may do a screenshot or something like that, but is having your message match what you're teaching in essence on your website.
Right.
Because I see some things that, that come out, or even like what's interesting is so somebody's trying to send me an affiliate offer. And I'm like, well, how does this fit into what like you kind of teach? I mean, are you looking for me to make that connection? Like my brain's really pretty fast. So a lot of times I go like, well, how does that connect up? Or like, well,
right.
They're barely connecting. I could see like, okay, yeah, it's about email and you send out a newsletter. Other than that, your whole thing's about video, or you know what I mean? Like what?
Yeah.
But also speaking about video, have you ever experimented with or seen any success with embedding a video, or at least the link in the middle of an email, or is that something you wouldn't do?
Oh yeah, I've done that before. Like, so say for example, if I send an email like, hey, I'm going to be live, and here's where you can join me, and say we did like that, the screenshot that we did that we posted in the live event marketers group, where you have your hand up and like that. I mean, maybe I put that in there, like, why does Bob have his hand up? You know what I mean?
Because he was trying to chop wood.
Yeah.
Point.
And then the answer could be, I have no idea, but go ahead and tune into our live.
Exactly. I was like, why is that weird expression on his face?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so let's jump into what I really like to hit on.
Let's do it.
And that's distribution. To me, email is a form of distribution, and it's where you need to be now and for the future. It's where you've needed to be, where you need to be, and for the future. So I see a lot of problems with, if you think about, like for example, restaurants right now. So I saw a post. I mean, this has probably been about 3 weeks ago, if not 4. Probably 3 anyway, where this one restaurant, well, actually, let me skip back. So they sent me, I'm on their text distribution channel. Okay. And they said, hey, we have a food offer of this, and it's a barbecue place. They do pulled pork, et cetera. And I thought, I'm sitting there looking at it and I'm like, what a dumb ad. Like, I'm not inclined to go buy from them right now. I mean, there's nothing about that was interesting. So I did this big old post on Facebook, dear restaurants, here's what not to do at these times. Or actually I did more of, here's what you should be doing. I think what I did is I said, do not do like this. And I put a screenshot of, you can't tell who they are. And I'm not even saying who they are.
Yeah.
And then I said, here's what you should be doing if you have a distribution channel, especially if you're going to be texting people.
Well, what was the major flaw in their text?
Well, it was just like, hey, we have some food, like come and get it.
No.
As opposed to, we have a special for community, blah, 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 come in and claim your thing, or?
Well, even at that,
yeah.
I mean, now you're going to get me go down the rabbit hole of what my post was about.
Oh, don't do that. We'll go back to the post. We can link the post down below.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick thing that I told them they should do. First off, I think they gave the price, if I remember correctly. But let's say I don't eat there that often. And to me, I'm like, well, what does that price mean? Either I'm just going to think of that's a good price or not.
Oh yeah, relative to what it normally is.
Like, oh, well, what was it normally? Like, so hey, come get our family 3, like 2 meat deal and 2 sides for $15 instead of
normally 40.
Yeah,
special only $16.95.
That was one thing that I pointed out, that like they don't send out a whole ton of text, but they had started picking up. But I'm like, again, I had no reference. I was like, what is it? And when I get there, I know what like a plate, I think if I remember correctly, for me was this price, but I mean, like for a family, I mean, like I don't remember what anyway. So I kind of went down and just said, you can do these things anyway. So text is a distribution channel, and restaurants should have been and should be building them, as well as email. And the reason why I say distribution channels are where it's at and where it should be is because you are more in control then, instead of, relying on Facebook, instead of relying on, and now their algorithm's going to go through and hear their name and, in our wording, but,
Pinterest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Google, anybody else. The reality is you have to be in control as much as you can of your traffic generation and your prospects, your clients, your customers. And that is so demonstrated so much, like big time now, than it was before, but it has always needed to be that way.
Right.
And I think, most of us had just really looked at it as, well, you just have email because you can send an email to people, or, hey, there's this text marketing that you could do, and I'll just add that as another thing, not understanding literally what it is. And the importance of focusing on distribution is where it's at. If you have distribution, you are in control.
So then you see distribution as a strategy, and then all of these things like email and text is just your tactics. Or is that not correct?
Okay. Exactly. And so when you start thinking of things now as in distribution channels versus, what's the next thing to do, or just what is this? If you're always taking something that comes out and you're wrapping the blanket, or you're putting it through the filter of how is this, or how can I leverage it as a distribution channel, and therefore you handle it differently as well. Again, part of that is even like you're saying, where you say, okay, this part is not responsive of the distribution channel.
Right.
And so I'm going to either remove that or, put it into another segment or whatever. But you're thinking about, I need my distribution channel to be effective. So therefore, again, like I had said, deliverability, you're wanting to remove those people, because if it's being sent to them, they're not opening it, then that's messing up the effectiveness of your distribution channel.
Well, I'm wondering also, does the autoresponder company who you contract with take a look at the fact that you have so few opens and then not deliver as much because of the fact, if they look at, you've got like 60% open and 25% click through, are they in prejudice in favor of you as far as delivery is concerned?
You want to know who is?
Who?
Gmail.
Oh.
And all the other ones.
Yeah.
You better believe they know who opens and who doesn't open. So they'll determine, after X amount that have been sent, they already got a history on you, whether that's zero history because you're just
or villain.
Yeah. So you hit that square on the head.
Interesting.
Again, that's, we can go into more detail. Then that's another discussion.
But it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be Yahoo. They don't care.
Well, when I say Gmail, because that's just a huge big one that everybody knows, but all of them do that to some extent, meaning they have their own algorithms, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But yes, it is looked at by them. Literally.
But that isn't from your autoresponder. That's from the company who, where someone else has their email address.
It's a bit of both, right?
Both.
Well, I can't speak directly to each and every individual one.
Yeah.
I know certain things do happen, and we can get into them on an individual basis. And there's some that I haven't used them yet. So,
right.
But the reality is, where's the end point though?
Yeah.
And actually, to me, they play more of a role, because as an autoresponder service, they're kind of like leaving it out up to the email,
the filtering on the other end.
Yeah. For the most part.
Well, because I noticed, it's one of the strangest things, not strange, but it's just kind of annoying that sometimes when you're just trying to communicate with someone on a regular basis, your stuff gets routed into promotion instead of updates, for example. And I don't know what the way around that is, other than not have a buy button, or just, hey, we're just having a casual conversation here.
Right. And that sort of is a quite a long conversation. And honestly, I have friends that I turn to for what's the latest on that as well.
Yeah.
And, that would be a good,
this
good
could
life.
be for another time. This would be really interesting.
Yeah.
But I like the distribution concept. That I think of it almost like as Amazon or Walmart. Who's got the best distribution team who can bring supplies to the victims of Katrina, for example? They turn to Walmart because they're experts in distribution.
Right. And the reality is, like, hopefully it'll those people who are listening now will think slightly differently about their strategy on going about things. But let me talk a little more into distribution.
Yeah.
So back in 2002, I started a service. I don't know if you really call it as a software as a service, because I ran it as a freebie, but it was a service that was software.
It's SaaS.
Yeah. So
free service.
It was called Subscription Rocket. What Subscription Rocket was a co-registration service. And so this is how I looked at it. I want to build my list, and I can only do so much. Meaning, like, I get, so many natural rankings in the search engine.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything as, like Facebook around, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, so I only get so much organic reach is how I saw it.
Right.
But I've got a friend named John. Hey, he gets a little bit of traffic. I got a crazy friend named Dr. C. A friend named Dr. C. And he gets a little bit of traffic as well from Google and Yahoo and et cetera, right? So again, we're distributed through those search engines to a degree, right?
Right.
Okay. But putting us all together, our reach is this, right?
Much greater.
More people, our reach is this.
Yep.
Okay. So what I did was then I thought, well, I will have a service that people that now my group is literally internet marketers, or people that like to market on the internet or use the internet as a
vehicle,
method of marketing. And so, and more of a focus for me on email back then, and it still is to this day, because my background really is building the list and nurturing and email and all that, because like that email is a distribution channel.
Right.
So, people were really wondering, like, well, what do you do? What's your literal thing? Well, I do teach people about building lists that are focused on the type of people that you want as a distribution method. And then the ways of literally how do you go about building that list using specific methods, and also virality of that, because virality to me is a component, or can be a component of your list building, and it's a distribution method of you to reach a bigger audience to where then you can filter it down to your key people. Anyway, so what I did, so I actually combined all those things. So viralness, and expanding my distribution through other people with Subscription Rocket. So what Subscription Rocket did was, as an internet marketer, again, so like, say, John or Dr. C, you guys seen my website, Subscription Rocket, through either a friend or, my own distribution of either, or my natural, like you were searching, I don't know, build a list or whatever, and I came up. Basically, so you'd reach my site, or one of, because I had more than one site. I had Subscription Rocket ran the service, and then I had information by email was an autoresponder service that I ran.
Okay.
And I had some other sites, but you'd come to that site, and up in the corner you'd have a pop-up, and it would say subscribe to these newsletters, and it'd have like a title of the newsletter and like a description. You could check a box on the one that the ones that you wanted, or none. You could close it.
I actually remember it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So then you would enter in your name and your email address, and hit submit, and then the system would take that information and it would fire it off to. So for example, John's newsletter, somebody selected his, so boom, he would get that subscriber. They selected mine, boom, I'd get that subscriber. And unfortunately, Dr. C, they didn't check his newsletter. So,
well, that's because Dr. C is known as Dr. V, so they don't recognize that name. So.
That's true, and that's why I called you actually earlier, when I was talking to John before the call. I was like calling you Dr. C, because I just,
I thought you were speaking Spanish, like C.
Sí, señor.
I'm very close to the border, señor.
¿Puedo hablar en español? Pero
sí, poquito, pero no mucho.
En este voy a hablar en inglés.
Bienvenidos the fiesta de email.
Okay, so I do need to call you Dr. V. I know I need to do that, but
it doesn't matter. I just think it's pretty funny. I just was speaking Spanish, so I figured that's what it was. Doctor,
yeah,
doctor,
yes.
Sí.
So basically, so that's what it would do. That and then at the bottom it said, would you like to add your newsletter to this? And then they would click that, and the person that was on their website, they would get that person as a referral. So what the system would do is when that person that they referred showed a pop-up on their website, that person got some credits.
Right. What can they do with those credits though?
So with that one, so for every one credit you had, it would show your ad, so your newsletter on another website.
Got it.
So you were incentivized, so viralness, to refer other people,
right?
So
that you would earn credits, and then you would get your ad displayed on more sites, so more people could subscribe.
That's pretty cool. It
was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I remember
it. So that's my big foray into into list building using a distribution channel, and then specifically adding a viral component to it.
But in that ad thing, if you get a credit, and let's say that you're getting ad space or your ads being seen by people who are not necessarily your target market, is that still valuable?
Well, the reality is that the people that joined, Subscription Rocket was strictly, or it was for internet marketers.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So like, you may teach internet marketing, but you may teach about how to submit press releases online.
Right.
Well, that's marketing online.
Right.
But then, so John's might've been about, how to write ad copy for your email newsletters. You don't really hear about an email newsletter. An email newsletter.
Yeah.
And then mine might have been like, how to rank in Google.
So different acts in the same circus.
Yes,
they really were. all very different. It was easy enough to say, oh yeah, I really got an interest in that. Let me
got it.
Box. So it was enough that it was quite different. And yet there were some that were kind of the same. So if you had a really similar interest still to somebody else, I might see Troy as he's talking about email. Let's say he's talking about email, and then the next guy might be talking about copy, which, still kind of fall in the same gamut. And then the next guy might be talking about affiliate marketing,
right,
with email or whatever, or
someone else about long form sales letters, or
there was a thread of it to it, and I always thought, wow, that's a pretty good system. Pretty cool. Right? Now I know.
Yeah. And there's a handful of marketers to this day. I made them because of having built their list. Now, I don't mean to sound that like braggadocious, but I have a few testimonials where they said that. Troy McDonald, started me with Subscription Rocket, and that's what was my beginning. And to this day, that's how they've been around. And so anyway, so that was my whole thinking started way back then about, again, distribution channels, and again, viralness being part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So then I went and did the corporate game, was the VP of marketing for Hobbytron.com. I started from ground up with them, where we built it into a multi-million-dollar company. I started the affiliate program for them. I handled, the email. I handled all the AdWords. I mean, everything. Now, eventually it grew into where we hired other people, and I set how the program was run, and then other people ran it, and I oversaw it.
Yeah.
But like I said, to this day, that's still going. That's a company that's still going. But I left because they kind of capped me on what I could earn.
Yeah.
So
it's surprising that companies do that sort of thing.
Well, especially since, I literally was the VP of marketing, where everything ran through me, and I honestly, I'd say there was a little bit of ego involved for me too, and now I'm getting older. It's kind of like, well, but I still wanted the freedom though. So I went back out on my own. But like I say, I kind of shamefully, I'll admit there was a little bit of ego there too. I was like, how dare you cap me? I'm like the engine of this thing, and I've set up every program that you have, and et cetera, et cetera. So
without me, you are nothing.
Yeah, I mean, there was a bit of that, and I apologize, so to speak, to whoever really deserves it, which is probably a handful of people. But at the same time, I was capped, and I was like, as a marketer, I wanted to be, I still want to do some things that were just Troy, so to speak. So, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And so I went back out on my own from that point, and that was back in 2007. So I did that for 5 years at Hobbytron. And there's still a lot of good people there. Anyway.
So 2007, you launched out on your own just prior to the financial crunch.
Well, when I say launched out on my own, I had done, again, this is because Subscription Rocket was 2002. So I had already had my own stuff, but
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't like I launched out at zero.
Right. Okay.
But, we made it through the .com stuff and whatever, and in fact, we got like an Inc. 500, fastest growing, and
like that,
and I got some other plaques and stuff like that. That's just one I have lying around. I haven't hung it up where I am here, but
just laying around.
Just put it, hang it up above the toilet in the bathroom so you can remind yourself every day.
Shh, don't flush anybody.
Sorry, don't flush.
Everybody, don't flush. I'm going live.
I'm going live.
But so then kind of in between here and there, I got to work with Frank Kern, Andy Jenkins, who's no longer with us. And then, like I say, Kurt Christensen, I helped him with various things, and many other marketers over the years. In fact, and so even recently for me, like I was on the launch team for Kartra. I helped launch that. I also helped with on some of the programming side, again from that nerd part, where I had to take Frank Kern's book funnel and help map that out into what do we need? How does that need to be done programmatically?
Oh, cool.
For Kartra and stuff. So I've had my finger. I mean, I've done just about anything and everything regarded, in relation to online stuff. Yeah. What I'm doing now is, or at least with the Live Event Marketers group on Facebook, is I saw it as another distribution channel. I see a lot of my marketing friends doing live streams of summits. Webinars, but I'm like, well,
oh boy, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I've got another live stream to go to.
Oh no,
I'm sorry. My friend Monica and I have Total Health Live now.
Okay, well, you're voted out then. You're voted off the island.
I'm booting myself out right now. But Troy, this was amazing stuff. I would love to see if we can get you back again to talk more details on this, and because this whole concept of the distribution system is fascinating to me.
Well, I'm going to go on for a tad bit more, and
you do that. I got to go to another event. So sorry, I didn't realize this. The time was flying by so quickly. I lost track of it. So. Anyway, thanks so much.
All right, we'll see you.
Appreciate it. Bye.
Okay. So, and there were two.
And that's okay.
So,
we're good with that.
I looked at that as in, again, they have this, everybody's getting this much reach. And then, I've got this much reach and another person has this much reach. So why not kind of, put something together that can expand that reach?
Yeah.
So that's what Live Event Marketers is. And I've even made it easy for people, because you can go to liveeventmarketers.com and that'll direct them over to the Facebook group as well. And I'll just throw that in there.
Yeah, do that. And I can see how the two correlate together. So like now that you've gone through all of that stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely see how with the email and everything, you pulled the two of those together in kind of the same way as a distribution channel.
Yeah.
I look at live video the same way. It's a chance to be just like it's a chance to be seen by other people's emails, this is a chance to be seen in other people's live videos and share in their streams and everything else. So
yeah, and so that's how I see it as a distribution channel. And let me expand on that thought, and we'll kind of we'll finish there. I mean, there's again so many other things I can talk about and experience and angles, but
friends, you can come back anytime.
Yeah.
Oh, good, man.
So not only is it a chance for, because again, when you look at what Subscription Rocket did was, again, like-minded people. Us marketers, not only are we interested in our angle of marketing that we like, but we're always like, well, hey, what's such and so doing, and what's their spin on it? Because they may be talking about writing, autoresponder copy, but theirs is different than mine. So what can I learn from that? Yeah. Or I'm writing ad copy, and again, they're a different angle on it. Or do they have a different angle? Or where do we meet up that, like, so I can validate maybe some of my own ideas? So it's still a family, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's where other business-minded and internet marketers, we all kind of think in the same realm. So again, Live Event Marketers Group is about where you can go and see, well, let me see what's going on. I mean, like, even if you're just bored, let me just see who's got a live event coming up or a live stream. And oh wow, like, because for example, Jason Moffat was on the other day, and it was his first event that was posted in there. And some people like, oh, I didn't even especially the way Facebook's been doing lately, it hasn't been notifying everybody on everybody's live streams and stuff. Right. So being in the group gives you just another possibility of them
seeing that.
Yeah, of them, being notified. And so plus it's also like, well, I gotta go check, this person's, stream as far as I got to check their news feed to see if they had something because it didn't show up on mine, or I got to check this other person. In other words, it's just bringing people together. Like, look at what Google did. Hey, they don't really have any of the content. They're just putting all the websites together. Well, that's what I did with Subscription Rocket. I put the like-minded websites together. So I'm putting, and then let me expand on the distribution part so other people can implement this as well. So think about putting people together, or think again, how can you take something that you're doing and make it a distribution channel for you, but also it involves helping other people usually. Mm-hmm. Or at least that's for me. Everything's been, it's working with other people. But at the same time, this is helping me to position myself as a leader to these other people that are doing streams and live events. So now when comes time for me to put some other things together, I'm not well, who are you?
Right.
I have other marketers that think about it now. I'm able to say, hey, I've got an offer. Why don't you become an affiliate for it, and market it? Mm-hmm. Or I've got a summit that I have coming up. Why don't you promote it? Or I need somebody to speak on a live stream that I'd like to do, and I've always wanted to get to know you or know them even better, sure, or whatever it is. And I've got content. So now look at all these things I'm able to dip into this distribution pool of information. So that really, in a nutshell, is the wrap up. Because I actually have another live to go to, but that really is where what I want to touch on is distribution.
Yeah.
And then email being a part of that. But then I show how I've looked at distribution over the years, and it has done me well.
How quickly are you off to your next live?
I'm off to my next live actually about 10 minutes ago. Oh
no, you're late. Okay.
Well, I'm late, but they haven't dinged me, but I don't want to be because it's actually it's a live one that we're doing. It's a live one we're doing, but we're recording it for a summit event. And so I may not want to necessarily be rude to their time, but yes, I am late. So if you've got a quick question or something you wanted me to answer, I could do that. But
I was just going to ask you what other things besides the live, I put Live Event Marketers out for people to see. Is there anything else you got coming up that you'd like people to know about?
I have some stuff in the works, but I'm not announcing it yet. Yeah. So Live Event Marketers is really where to meet up on Facebook.
Okay. So I got a couple things coming up too that I'll tell you about later. I won't keep you any longer.
Okay.
In suspense. It's not like we don't get to see each other regularly.
All right.
You know, so.
And hey, the interesting thing is that we met through the group, Live Event Marketers Group.
Yep. Mark introduced me.
And then talk about who referred you though.
Mark Hardy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know Mark through working with Genesis Digital or the Kartra Group.
Mm-hmm.
And that just shows, I mean, again, that's a channel.
It does. Yeah, absolutely.
Than just relying literally on myself.
Our personal channels are deep in this business. So, you know, Mark, I know Genesis Digital. I did a lot of work with Webinar GM when it first came out.
Yeah.
You remember me from that when I did that stuff. And I got interviewed by Mike and Andy. I know Mike really well. I was in a couple of groups with Mike.
Yeah, good old team.
Yeah. Mike's story is very similar to yours in a lot of ways. I'll tell you sometime. In some interesting ways. What else was I going to say about that? Yeah. So, and I was one of the alpha testers for Kartra. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, then you probably got. I also did a lot of the mailings for that, so you probably got one of the emails. No, I know you did get one of the emails.
I'm sure I did. So I got started with a lot of that stuff. Did a lot of stuff with them. Shame
cool.
about.
Yeah, so we'll definitely talk more about distribution and some of the things that I have coming up as well, because I have some more things that are in the works. Again, Subscription Rocket is no longer running right now, but I have some things similar to it that are coming out.
Oh, cool.
So, and
more about
basically, I'm really heavy on again the distribution part, but then I'm also like, how can I connect some virality to it, or viralness? So
yeah, I'd like to find a way to connect even a little more viralness to summits. Would be nice. Something tells me you're thinking up something.
Oh, well, I already have stuff, but yeah, we'll talk. Yeah, we'll talk.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you, Troy.
All right, good talking to you, John.
All right.
All right, see you. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.